the thing that I didn't quite anticipate feeling was like this joy when you hear other people play the music and bring it to life. Like that's a super rewarding experience, and it's something that the very first time I remember like just being kind of totally blown away by that. And yeah, I think that like I wasn't anticipating like wanting the feeling that, and then after you just kind of want to feel that over and over.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's so much
I
fun.
can
And then
imagine.
you
Yeah.
see the other people enjoying it, and you see them like bring the music to life, and they do things you hadn't anticipated that make it better. And yeah, it's very very satisfying.
It's so great to meet you here on Zoom, John.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to meet you too.
Yeah. So where are you based?
I'm in Queens, New York, outside of New York City. It's a neighborhood called Jackson Heights.
Okay.
Bring this a
So
little closer. And yeah, I'm in my son's bedroom slash studio.
oh, I see. Okay.
So you see kid stuff around. That's why.
Okay.
I'm slowly getting forced out of this room, like
Oh, I see.
one
Okay.
one year at a time.
So do you have a studio at home then, or is it just where you practice, or what do you do there?
Yes, I have a studio here where I practice and write music, and I have a piano in the other room. So, and then I teach at a school, so sometimes I'll go there and at Malloy University. So, from time to time, I'll go there and practice, or on the days that I'm teaching there, I'll get there a little early and do some work practicing or writing and stuff before I have to teach. And
Amazing. I just yesterday spoke to a jazz pianist who lived in New York for a long time, and he actually told me that they started, him and his wife, she's a singer, and they started in their apartment in New York to cut CDs in the days gone by. And I think it's so wonderful that musicians just you make things work, and you find a place and you just get on with it.
yeah, you gotta adapt. I mean,
Yeah.
not everyone has the space to make as much noise as they want. I used to have a rehearsal space that I would go and practice, and I was like kind of the landlord and managed a handful of people. And that was nice too, because I could just go there and make as much noise. Like for certain instruments, it's harder, I think, than
Okay.
others. Drums, and it's really hard,
Oh yeah.
a trumpet or something, or something. But I have, it depends on your surroundings too, your neighbors, and like how much you're
Are your neighbors quite
making.
happy to have you around if you play?
From what I've heard, yes. I
Oh,
always feel,
okay.
I feel a little guilty sometimes, but I'm not playing like, for 8 hours a day or anything, So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I think I mean, for brass instruments, especially like, like trombone, there's only so much time and physically you
Oh
can
yeah.
kind of do per day. So, and that's for me, like always been, so, then the next thing for me is to go to the piano or write some music, or, sit at the computer and work on some music. Cause I just need that like musical like stimulus, but physically in the trombone, you kind of like only have so much, so many hours you can play per day before you start doing damage and stuff like that. So,
Well, during lockdown, I spoke to a baritone who lived in Italy, and he said that he used to sing at home, of course,
mm,
much more than he used to because he was stuck at home. And he
mm.
thought it would bother his neighbors, but he said the days that he didn't sing, the neighbors actually came to knock and ask if he.
Yeah. No, I've had several neighbors come say that, like, "Oh, I love hearing you practice," and
Oh,
I'm like, maybe
really?
it's the same thing all the time, or sometimes it's like really like just exercises, or But I think
Yeah.
they just like the idea that like, oh, this person's like, I think some
Yeah.
people like the sound. There's like, oh, this is a very New York thing to like hear someone playing
Oh,
music
yeah.
in the background, and so yeah,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
been fortunate to have people that support it, and but it's never come to that where they're like, hey. you know, you didn't
Oh,
practice today. What's wrong with you?
okay. But yeah, New York and jazz for me is so, you think you would like to have the music in the background.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many. I think it's probably a good. It's better than the alternative of like people honking or
Yeah.
garbage trucks and all the other like
Yeah. Yeah.
noises that go on throughout the
Yeah.
day. So I'm sure it's a little more soothing, comforting.
Yeah. But your son, is he also a musician? Is he also playing
I
an
mean, he's
instrument?
5 years old, so yes, he's playing
Oh,
piano.
okay.
So yeah,
Oh,
he's great.
okay. Oh,
He
wow.
plays
Yeah.
piano. He has a plastic trombone.
Yeah.
So he's doing good. I mean, we're just
Mm.
trying to keep it fun for him.
Yeah.
He hears music me all the time, and he's exposed to a lot of stuff. So I think he's managing to like get his ears a little more in tune with things,
Oh, yeah.
but not getting serious. He's not like playing recitals or and he's
Mm.
not on that track. I just want him to like have fun, learn some stuff, play. Hopefully, I started on piano myself and then switched to trombone, and that was a big change for me in like around fifth grade, and I think. But I came back around to the piano later in life, and as a composer, and during college I had what's called TMJ, which is like this like kind of tendonitis in your jaw,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to take a lot of time off of the trombone,
Oh, I see.
and I was like, oh my god, is my career on trombone like over? It hasn't even started yet, So I played a lot of piano, and that was like a great musical outlet. So I like reconnected with the piano, in that at that period, and then it's sort of like I've been kind of surfing back and forth from the two of them ever since.
But is it a common injury to have?
Fairly, yeah. I think
Okay.
when you're in music school, it's like everyone's trying to, you know, you're just practicing all the time, and sometimes it's not the best practice, or you're doing certain things, doing something a certain way, that is not like technically correct. So your body's kind of like, people get tendonitis. Violin players all the time. All these things that come up, like tennis. I don't know if it's tennis elbow, but like
Yeah, I spoke to
all
a
sorts of
violinist.
injuries. People just like
Yeah,
going over the top, like too much practice, or practicing in a
exactly.
way that's too aggressive, or not putting enough rest in their practice. I'm pretty sure that's what happened to me. 'Cause you just get so caught up in the moment, and you're not thinking about like, the fundamentals, and how you can, do more harm than good, because you're just focused on the music part of it. And so sometimes you're kind of your own worst enemy.
Exactly. But as a non-musician, you don't realize that, and I spoke to a violinist the other day, and she told me about also the tennis arm, that you can get from playing the violin, and you don't think of that. But yeah, of course there are these injuries. So, but you said you played the piano first, but what was it about the trombone that inspired you to, or that attracted you to the instrument?
I mean, honestly, I tell the story a number of times, and I don't really remember, other than the fact that there was a day in whatever, I'm fifth grade, or maybe it was fourth grade going into fifth, where they let you, they put all the instruments out and they let you go try them all:
I
saxophone,
see.
flute, clarinet, trumpet, trombone, percussion, and it's just kind of like, oh, let's go see what it is. And I think I literally went to the trombone, picked it up, was able to make a sound right away, and I was like, cool, that's it. And I didn't touch any of the other instruments. So,
Yeah.
my wife always says the trombone chose me. So
Oh,
I don't
oh, okay.
know. But I think there was just an element of it's very simple. There was no keys, no buttons, no reed, like saxophone reed, and I could make a sound on it pretty quickly. And so I think that was the thing that kind of pulled me in. I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to struggle with any of these other things. Look at these people. They can't even hold it. I was like, I'm cool. So,
But of course, when you practice so much, you have to like the sound as well.
yeah, I think the
Yeah.
sound too. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very mellow sound. It's not bright. It's like you can listen to it for long periods of time, and now that I've been playing and writing for many years, I've, come to appreciate that, that element of the trombone. It definitely, it's unique in that sense because, I mean, trombone players tend to stick together just as people or end up hanging out. And there's a certain like personality that kind of goes along with the trombone.
Okay.
And I feel that's way for a lot of instruments, but there's a profile for each one. But like for trombone, it's like usually like pretty easygoing, friendly people that, are kind of mellow like the instrument. So, but you can put the trombone is unique in the sense that you can put a lot of them together to play, and it never gets really bright, so bright that you're kind of like, ugh, like. Hence, you can have like 100 trombones playing, and it's still going to sound great and mellow and never like overly bright. Whereas if you did that with trumpets, everyone would be like, oh, that's too much, especially once they start getting up into certain ranges. So.
Isn't there a song from a musical about trombones as well?
Yeah, 76 trombones.
76 trombones
Exactly.
or
That's what I'm
something.
saying. Like they couldn't do that with 76 trumpets, like people would leave the show. I mean, and that's also a kind of a testament of, I don't know, like the thing we just said, is the trombone is like, I've taught trombone to students. I can get anyone to make a trombone sound in less than 5 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So like all the cast members, I played in some of those pits, and like all the cast members have to learn how to play the trombone, to like a beginner sort of level. But like it's that takes time, and they don't have much time to do that. So an instrument that is like friendly, like the trombone. I remember my friend who played in the pit, he had to teach the whole cast, but yeah, I mean, it's an instrument you can pick up and play right away. So, plus, yeah, you put 76 of them together, it's not going to get overly bright. So,
Oh, yeah. But tell me, did you come from a musical family? Your parents, were they musicians as well?
yeah, my mom was. My dad's not a musician. My dad was a doctor, and my mom was a nurse, and that's how they met. But she was, played piano, studied piano, played viola. Her mom was an artist, like visual artist, painting and drawing. So like that's where that side of it comes from. My mom's side of the family, and yeah, I mean, she had all of us playing music. I was, I have two older sisters, but I'm the only one that sort of like took it to anywhere past, middle school, much less, becoming a professional.
And did you grow up in New York?
No, I grew up outside of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So it
And
was
then
the music that took you to New York.
yes, yeah. I mean, I think the thing that shaped me, a lot of my, passion for jazz was, the music program at the high school I went to was like is kind of a one of a kind program. It's like, they have this jazz festival every year, and they bring in guest big bands every year. And so we saw like Count Basie Orchestra and like Duke Ellington and, Woody Herman and all these bands that would come and play the festival every year. And as like a high school or middle school, you're seeing it's like you're very impressionable, and then the program itself, you get to, there's four jazz groups, and the bands are like really excellent, usually really, high level of musicianship going on. And, my band, after I graduated high school, we ended up going on a tour to Europe, which was like amazing. We went through, actually, I think we did go through Austria. I can't remember exactly where, but, we ended up playing the Montreux Jazz Festival and all this stuff. So, yeah, very, very much a unique experience. And, I think that like I was fortunate to kind of, just sort of be there, as that program definitely like, that's a once in a lifetime experience for sure.
So,
going on tour as a high schooler.
yeah, but was that what got you into jazz, or what was the interest in jazz?
Yeah, I think the interest was definitely, it was there that it formed. And then I think like I went to Indiana afterwards, and the program there was really like excellent too. And I kind of think I thought I had, after going through this program, I'll just back up and say, like, I loved playing jazz in high school, but I never thought like this was going to be my career path. I was just sort of like having fun. So I didn't, wasn't taking it super seriously in terms of like, really practicing and being diligent. But I listened a lot and I was super into it. So, I think it was one of those things where like I didn't realize how much, I loved it and how much I wanted it to be part of my life until it was sort of like taken away when I got to college and I wasn't playing in any groups and not being a part of performing. And so when I got to Indiana, I was like not in the music school and I saw all these students who were playing like way, way above where I was, in the music school, which is an excellent music school, Indiana University. And so then I like, sort of really started buckled down and auditioned, got into the school after a semester, and then just felt like I've kind of been playing catch up ever since. Yeah, so it's definitely inspired by those students that were like my peers are like 2 years older than me. They were like running circles around me. I was like, oh wow, I gotta like, okay, if I want to do this, I better really like commit, which I hadn't done until I got there. I just kind of needed to see that, I think.
So were you sort of, or when did it sort of hit or kick in that you wanted to be a professional musician, or that you thought that would be a career path?
I mean, I think I always thought like, yeah, maybe I'll, for a period, it was like, maybe I'll do music business as like a backup. These are definitely conversations I have with my parents. Yeah, and then I always thought, well, I could do some teaching too, which I've been able to do. So, but my initial thing was like, I just want to play and see where this goes. So, I was fortunate to, when I graduated college in Indiana, I ended up going on the road with the Glenn Miller Orchestra for a year and a half.
Wow.
And playing, touring, and we went all over the place. And so, I really like, got to experience the life of like playing every night. And I think that's when I realized like, okay, I think I can do this, and I moved back to Chicago and I started playing, in Chicago and then also teaching again at my old high school, and doing private lessons with students. And so I thought like, okay, I can, between these, playing and teaching, I think I can make this work, but I wasn't 100% sure. I was just sort of like, I'm just going to do this thing for a while and try to get really good at this one thing and then move on to the next, and so slowly sort of piece it together.
Well,
Wasn't that thought out? I guess that's to say it wasn't thought out. Like,
oh yeah. But
all that to say that.
But I spoke the musician, the jazz pianist I spoke to, Walter Fischbacher, and he also talked about this. The fact that you study the music, you come out of college or university, and then you want to be a working musician, or you want to earn your money, but you still have to pay the rent, and you have to think, okay, but I have to do something to support this, and of course New York is not cheap, the rent is high and the living cost is high, so I can imagine that you have to really be inventive to be able to continue doing the music.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, now that I've been here for almost over 20 years, it's like, and even in my time, I was in Chicago for about 5 years, and you kind of see how people piece it together. Like, no one's doing music. Well, I would say no one, but there's like there's only a handful of people that are playing full time and doing nothing else. I think that, and a lot of those people end up being like on certain, like a bass player. I have a friend who's a bass player. Like, he's playing all the time because there's a bass on every show or every gig. So it's not the same thing for trombone. So you have to like sort of start to, that's something you don't think about when you're coming out, is like the demand factor,
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone's piecing it together in some form, making a life for themselves and paying their rent in some combination of, several things, whether it's like playing, playing gigs or teaching or writing or working at Starbucks, or I worked at the Apple store for a little while. Like you just kind of do what you have to do or temping it in offices. Whatever it is you need to do to stay here and survive and continue like playing the music that you want to play. Like there's the music you have to play sometimes, and there's music you want to play. So it's always like usually, the music, the creative things that are more fun that don't pay very much money. Those are the things that you're here for, and you kind of like suffer or whatever, make your way through the other things in order to like have the opportunity to do those fun things. So that's kind of, and whatever that thing is to pay your rent is something you just sort of like, make it happen so that you have the creative projects that are more like musically rewarding, but financially usually not so much. So it's a balancing act for sure.
And you're also composing.
Yes. Yeah.
And how did you get, was it something you also studied, or was it just something you started doing?
Yeah. I mean, I think during the time I was in Chicago, like I started to really get the itch to compose music, and also wanted to learn more about writing for like large ensemble, for big bands specifically. Definitely I was like playing the music all the time. When I was on the Glenn Miller band, I was the band copyist, so I was sort of like copying out parts and looking at scores and trying to like learn stuff. And kind of always had this idea in my back of my head, like, oh, I would love to like lead my own band and write for them. And but after my time in Chicago, I realized like if I want to do this, I need to go back to school and really like brush up on this stuff. And at the time, I was still in touch with a lot of my friends from school, from Indiana, that were living in New York, and they were telling me about all these rehearsal bands and like these great musicians, and people just get together and rehearse. And there's no money, and you're just playing music for the sake of playing music, and how much fun it is, and how I was like, wow, okay, if I want to really do the writing thing, and especially on a large ensemble scale, like that's the place I have to go. So I ended up coming to Queens College, doing my master's degree, and studied, got a chance to work with Michael Philip Mossman, who's excellent jazz composing arranger, teacher. And then, along with Luis Bonilla, trombone teacher there, he's been excellent too. And he's the one I was telling you, he teaches in Graz at the conservatory.
Oh yes.
And so yeah, him and Michael like really were excellent for me at Queens College. And then many years later, I ended up doing the BMI Jazz Composers Workshop with Jim McNeely and Mike Holliber, and that was like an amazing experience, and really sort of like took the writing thing to the next level for me after I graduated from Queens College. Like this is like several years after. So it's been a long process, to say the least. But yeah, it was always kind of something in the back of my head, and I wasn't quite sure how to do it. And I've been slowly I'm still trying to figure it out. But it's very hard because there's not a huge demand for it. But there's also a lot of people writing for it, and people like playing it. So it's kind of a one of a kind experience, So. And yeah, it's been something I've sort of been shifting my focus to more writing, over the thing that I didn't quite anticipate feeling was like this joy when you hear other people play the music and bring it to life. Like that's a super rewarding experience. And it's something that the very first time I remember like just being kind of totally blown away by that. And yeah, I think that like, I wasn't anticipating like feeling that, and then after you just kind of want to feel that over and over.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's so much fun, and then you see the other people enjoying it, and you see them like bring the music to life, and they do things you hadn't anticipated that make it better, and yeah, it's very very satisfying. of fun, and playing a great trombone solo is a lot of fun, and being in a band is fun. But this is something just different. It's a different sort of like connection that I've come to really appreciate and seek out more and more.
Years ago, I spoke to a young composer, and I asked him if he enjoyed the fact that people enjoy his music. And so he said he does, but he enjoys it more when he sees the musicians who are playing the music enjoy playing the music. And I never thought of it that way, but I can totally imagine that you almost that reward is almost bigger, you know?
It is. I mean, it is in the sense that those are the people that you respect, the most. Like, no offense to the audience, but like a lot of the musicians are people, like, especially for me, these are all musicians that I've played with on and off for the last 20 years in New York City. So I know them very well, and I know what they're capable of. I know their skill level is like super high. And so when their opinion is like, when you get the feeling that they're enjoying what you're doing, like that's kind of the best compliment, But I will say, like, I was just gonna say real quick. One time I took some music to a high school in Michigan, and I wrote a piece for them, and actually it's the first track on the album called Upside, and they learned the piece, and I went and worked with them, and some of the kids weren't playing. They had been sitting off to the side because there's too many musicians. So, but during the concert, I could see the kids off to the side, like singing all the parts that I had written, and were like dancing around the background. And that was also like extremely like, it was like really rewarding. I don't know. I was not anticipating. I felt very moved by that. I was just sort of like, wow, like that's really awesome. Because I think partly because, when I was in high school playing at this, program, I was probably one of those kids doing the same thing. So it's kind of a funny thing to like see yourself,
and especially kids that you sort of expect them not to be so into it, and then then they are.
I think it's just like a testament, the power, sounds corny, but like the power of music and how it connects everybody. And there's something like really special about that.
Now when you compose, of course you hear the tune or you hear the music, but it must be also different when you give it over to the band and the musicians, and you hear it for the first time really full live with a band. Is that a good feeling?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think the very first time, as I was mentioning earlier, like I wasn't prepared for that. Now I've done it enough where I'm, like the impact isn't as big, but it's still very satisfying. I equate it to like you're watching TV on a small screen in black and white, and then going and watching the same thing on a 60-inch TV in 4K with HD sound. It's like everything is brighter, bigger, more grand, like more fully realized, and it's sort of just like, oh wow, like it's hard to I don't know, that's the best way I can explain it. It's sort of just like
you sometimes get that feeling, did I do this?
yeah and you're like, oh, did I write that? Or like, oh wow, that is like way bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's a lot of fun. And the other thing too about the connection too is with the musicians is like they start to like give you feedback, and that's super like fun and rewarding. You get some tips, or you learn something, or I'm always open to suggestions, so I always like let people feel free to interject if they have an idea of something. So that collaboration factor is a lot of fun too.
I spoke to a singer-songwriter once, and he said that he looks back on his work, on his songs that he wrote, and it's almost like a journal for him in the sense that he can when he hears it, he knows exactly what his emotion was at the time, where he was
Yeah,
in his life
totally.
at the time. It's like a, like a yeah, like a journal. Is it the same
Yeah,
for you?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's the really kind of what my the last album Points in Time is about. It's that same 100% concept, like this idea that this song was written at this time in my life and this was going on and I was living here and feeling this way, and like all those things come back when you hear it. So but for me, the project was like really about revisiting these small group songs that I had written and recorded with my quintet and this other band that I have called Triceratops, and revisiting those songs and then like kind of reimagining them for big band. And so so I went through that experience you're describing, many times as I went through each piece and started to like rework it and kind of beef it up and sort of expand and develop some of the original material. So I definitely felt that, and that's a great way to describe it.
And do you change things? Do you go back and change things, or do you have works that you didn't finish that you, in years later, go back and think, hey, this wasn't, not that I say bad, but you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like you must have left something, and then go back and think, no, I want to finish this.
Sure. Yeah,
I do
always.
you?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of two sides to it. I think there's like things that are unfinished that you kind of left on the on the cutting room floor, as they say.
Oh, yeah.
And those are like sitting in all sorts of little like music notepads like this in in the other room, and I'll from time to time like leaf through and find like, oh yeah, okay, that's like like could have done something more with that.
Okay.
So like and sometimes I'll because when you write, especially for a large ensemble piece, you're this is something I learned from Jim McNeely. It's like you writing just ideas and material with the intent that you're probably going to discard like 3/4 of it and not use. You won't be able to use it all. So you're just trying to generate like ideas and material, and so sometimes those things that get discarded end up becoming something good for another song. So you don't ever like throw it away or burn it or like flush it down the toilet, because it can always come back in some other form. So that's definitely something that happens. And but as far as like taking a finished piece and reworking it, that's the second thing I was going to say, is like sometimes that can be like a can of worms. So you have to be careful with that, in the sense that it can be more work to like kind of pull everything apart, fix it, and put it back together. And sometimes it's better just like start over something new.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say that I've done that. Like one of the tunes on the album, First Step, I've written like at least probably half a dozen or a dozen versions of that tune over the years, and like added sections and change, like edited things and tried to make things
Oh, okay.
friendlier to play or whatever. So but at a certain point you kind of have to like, okay, that's enough. Like I need to move on because I'll be working on writing the same song for 20 years, and it's like, well,
Oh
what am I
yeah,
doing
yeah.
now?
I
So,
have that sometimes with photography.
uh huh,
When I just started, and the first photo shoot I did, and I wasn't, I wasn't even confident to do it, and I sort of left the pictures. I didn't at the time. I didn't want to look at it because I thought, oh no, I
uh
was so bad. And
yeah,
then years later,
yeah,
I looked at it again, and I thought, not half bad, you know.
yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, we
But
are,
I was so critical at the time. I just
yeah,
didn't want to do
I know.
anything with it. But yeah,
No,
this is
we're,
why I was thinking, if I wonder if it happens in music as well.
oh yeah, we're the worst. We are our own worst critics, and
Okay.
that's the thing about when I'm like in the process of writing especially a large scale piece, but even any small piece of music. Like I always tell my students, like you have to live with it on a daily basis for a period of time. You can't just like write it and then put it down for 2 weeks and come back to it. Like you're gonna lose the connection to it because, and the thing that you're talking about too is like, and this is one of the things I remember telling Michael Mossman was like, yeah, I wrote this thing yesterday. It sounded great. I came back to it the second day. I'm like, this is terrible. This is an awful idea. Like, you're a total hack. And then the third day, I'm like, oh, this is okay. You know? He's like, yeah, that's what it is. I'm like, oh, duh. Like, so that's where the living with it every day. So you can go through that sort of
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
that period, which you did over or however long you separated looking at the original stuff. But like, I mean, that's something that my wife is, she sees it from afar. So she's like, you're just in the process. And I've come to appreciate, like, try to like embrace it instead of like get frustrated with it. Cause I'm like, I know by the time I get to day 3, like things will start to like make more sense to me in terms of like the thoughts and ideas and how things kind of come together. But, if I don't do those consecutive days in a row, like it's very easy to look at the second day and be like, this is terrible and walk away. Like that's like kind of the worst thing you can do, because you kind of need to like see it through. So, and that's where that like, sticking with it and living with it every day really like allows you to like come back around to realizing like, okay, it's not that half bad. If I change this, now it's even better, so you start like giving it a chance, instead of totally pushing it aside.
Do you still feel, or I would have to rephrase that.
Hmm.
Did you ever feel when you did a piece, and it you put it out for the first time for somebody to play or to listen to, that it's daunting, that moment that you put it out? Even if you felt, I feel good about it, you still need to see if other people also can receive it that way. Like,
Hmm. You mean like if I wrote something and I'm feeling good about it, I need to like get validated by other people hearing
not
it, or
validated, but is there some sort of thing? I wonder if they will accept it, or I wonder if they will appreciate it, or is it
uh,
daunting to put something out the first time?
yeah, I think I've gotten gotten past that.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
yes, I think it is initially. Yes, I mean, at a certain point, and I told students this too. It's like you're the one writing. It's like you're never going to make everyone happy.
Of course,
Not everyone's
yeah.
going to like what you put out there. And so at the end of the day, you just have to be happy with it and you have to believe it. And like that has to be enough, because not everyone's going to appreciate what it is you're trying to do. Or everyone has different tastes and music is very subjective. And like, there's things that my wife really loves and things that she's kind of like, I don't know. I'm not into that. I'm just kind of like, okay, like, I know why I get it. But
Yeah,
that's the other
yeah,
thing too, is like to like ask yourself that question, like, well, why didn't that person like that?
yeah.
Like maybe it's too complicated or it's like goes on for too long or whatever. So that can be helpful, I think, but definitely at the end of the day, I tell people too, I'm like, just do what you want to do. Cause you just like kind of say, forget it. And like, I'm just going to go with what I like and what I believe in and like, let the chips
Exactly.
fall, cause you can't satisfy everybody. And if you try to write music to like make other people happy, now you're robbing yourself of that experience. And like what we talked about earlier, like that's one of the best feelings, you know? So if you're just like writing, you know, cookie cutter stuff to kind of like make other people feel good, like you're not going to feel good about yourself. So
That's true. Yeah. I have my son and daughter who gives me sometimes their opinions, and there's mostly different opinions. So the
mm-hmm.
one would say, yes, that's good. And the other one would say, no, I don't like it. So I,
Yeah.
it's, and you just have to say, well, you know, this,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
good to find out why they liked it or what they didn't like about
exactly.
it. And
Yeah.
then, you know, you can also, you know, your kids, so you can tell like, oh, well, this one's kind of this sort of way, and
Yeah.
this other one's
True.
the other way. So now you're kind of like sort of sizing up your audience in the sense that like there's people that are gonna be like these two people and other different, you know,
True.
variations. But it's a nice way to kind of like get a read on like, okay, so who am I appealing to? Like, you know, when you go, sometimes that's helpful when you go about writing a piece of music, or imagine for photography, you know, like if you're trying to appeal to the masses, you might do it a certain way. If you're trying to make it more artistic and more
True.
complex, you might go about it a different way. So that can be really helpful too.
No, that's true. But tell me, you were Grammy nominated.
No, I did not get nominated. I
Oh,
tried.
you didn't? Oh, I see. Because I saw on
No,
Instagram.
I tried. I was putting out stuff to see if people would, you know, go far enough to nominate me, but I didn't actually get to that point.
Okay.
But that, but it was a good experience. I learned a lot, you know, and it's definitely something I would try again. I think, you know, there's certain pluses and minuses to it for sure. It's not so much based on, you know, the music itself. It's a lot of more, you know, what's the best way? I don't know. It can kind of be sort of a popularity contest in some ways. So
Yeah, but I didn't. I never realized it, and I spoke to somebody who also talked about the Grammys and the nominations and how much work there goes into, and it's not cheap as well, and it's,
no,
you
and at
know,
the end of the
you
day,
have
it's
to.
like
Yeah.
you're totally right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's nothing. It's something I'd never done before, and I feel like I would maybe try it again. I will say that. So I felt like, oh, I should at least try this and see what this whole
Yeah.
process is. And you know, I didn't get super far along, and I probably should have given myself more time to prepare for it. So I'm, you know, taking notes for next time, but. You know, I definitely, yeah, it's very cost prohibitive, very time consuming. And at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't always, you know, if you might feel like your music is worthy. And then, you know, of course, like that's the musical quality doesn't always necessarily have anything to do whether or not you get nominated. And so, you know, but the people who do get nominated, I'm like, you know, happy for them, and they're definitely like, there is great music out there. Not to say that there isn't, but there's so many submissions. The process is very, I don't know, it's very secretive, and it's kind of hard to like exactly know how, you know, people end up getting nominated at the end of the day. So, and that's something we'll never know because we're not part of the committee in the process. So, so it's just, you know, all in all, I did learn a lot, and I like got to like hear other people's submissions that were, you know, in the trying to get nominated phase, which is where maybe you saw my post. But and so people will share like, hey, I'm getting you know, could you listen to my music, and if you like it, could you potentially nominate me? And so I got to hear a lot of awesome music, which was really cool, and things I would never listen to. So that was really nice to like connect with a new bunch of people, and everyone's just trying to like share their music and get it out there, and hopefully you know, it reaches to the point where it gets nominated. So that in the sense, and it was really nice. It's kind of like to branch out and hear some new stuff, and people listen to your music, and you know, they maybe would never have come across it in the first place. So that, you know, that's a positive for sure.
Yeah, and like you say, it's you know, something you learn something about, and it's the more you approach things like that, you know, when it's for you and when not, you know. I think that's
Yeah.
also important.
I mean,
Mm.
yeah, there's there's a lot of angles to it. It's a very
Yeah.
complex issue.
Mm.
But, you know, at the end, it's good. I mean, I think, you know, people should try to do it if they are interested in,
Yeah.
you know, the music that comes out, and is always like, you know, really great. And um, I mean, there's so many now that everyone can release their own albums, you know, not like, you know, has their own labels and can, you know, put stuff out on their own. There's so much stuff out there. So I don't know like what the best way is to like sift through all of that. So, um, but that's, you know, that's not my job. So,
Yeah. But I love what you do on Instagram. You know,
oh,
that
thank
you,
you.
yes, I love it. You know,
Oh,
that you
appreciate
talk
that.
about the music and so
Oh,
on.
cool.
And I think it's so important that musicians do that. I also recently spoke to a pianist, and she said that, um, you know, as a musician, you learn about the music and you have the knowledge about the music, but the public don't necessarily. And you reach actually people by talking or, you know, saying
Yeah,
something about it. And it makes people then more inquisitive to know, you know, to go and
yeah,
listen, or make them familiar, or make them realize what to listen for.
absolutely. No, I will say that, so I did start working with, shout out to my friend Colin Perry Brown, Signal Flow Creative. He helped me. He's been helping me with all the social media. He helped me with the Grammy, you know, like mailings and preparing all the stuff for that. And he's been helping me shoot and edit all these videos that I've been posting. And I've learned a ton from him. And he has been, you know, definitely got like me to kind of see that side that you're talking about, is like
Yeah.
people want to hear about the process of how the band recorded, or how the music came together, how you wrote it, what you're thinking about. And I get that, and that's something I was like fighting for a long time. And I will say that, like, you know, there's only so much time in the day, so it's very hard to like, you know, find enough time to do the writing and playing of
Okay.
music and stay like, you know, up to that, up in shape, and honing your craft, and make time to like share all these videos. It's very it's very hard to balance it out.
Yeah,
So like
it is.
usually people are really good at one or the other, and I'm,
Yeah.
you know, not someone that has spent a lot of time doing, you know, the like sharing of the process. But I have found it to be fun and interesting. And like, I think, yeah, I do want people to kind of see what goes on behind the scenes. And it kind of like sparks this kind of leads me to the next thing, this next project that I'm going to work on, which, you know, because it kind of goes with what you're saying. People want to know the process. Like, so after a lot of my concerts, people will come up to me and ask me all these questions about how I wrote the music, and how I decided who was going to solo, and, you know, what is it like to
Yeah.
be part of the big band, and all these things. And I've answered those questions like many times, and I kind of came to the conclusion like the best way for people to answer that question was to like is for them to, you know, join us and become part of the band. So I'm
Oh,
starting a new
wow.
project, yeah, called Let's Make Some Noise, and we're going to do a 3-month residency at Queens College, and we're going to do these workshops. And I'm like finishing writing the music right now, and the music is
Wow.
written with the audience in mind. So the audience is going to be like kind of woven into the compositions, and they're going to be like, you know, clapping and singing, and potentially maybe even playing some percussion instruments or some sort of ad hoc instruments. And you know, I just feel like that's the best way for people to like figure out what it looks like to be part of a big band, is to like perform and
Absolutely. Yeah.
participate. So so that's something you know, like the videos are great, and I love sharing that. But I almost like think that like coming to one of these workshops, or one of these, you know, the performances, as they start to, you know, once the workshop music kind of gets tightened up and we do the more performances that have all those songs, you know, in the program, it will be, you know, easier for people to hopefully get the ability to like answer those questions and see that process sort of like in real time and
Exactly.
be part of
Yeah.
it instead of just being an observer, you know?
Yeah. And I also, um, during lockdown here in Vienna, we had a lot of musicians who played on the street. And I know for some musicians, it's almost they don't want to think they do that. But at the time, it was the only way that they could
Yeah,
actually play. And I
sure.
thought about it a lot, and I saw how people come up close to the instruments, and to
Yeah,
also talk to the musicians
yeah,
afterwards, and
yeah.
children coming to really
Hmm.
stare and look at the musician, and you think,
Yeah.
and this what you're doing is going to be brilliant, because
Thank you.
this is what people want. They want to have that connection,
Yeah.
with the musicians.
I think that, I mean, I have so many ideas with this thing. It's been, one of them is like having the audience sitting in between band members, sort of like the seating arrangement, so they're all kind of
Yes.
integrated amongst each other. It very much depends on the venue, but
Yeah.
but that's something I've thought about, and for that same reason, like yeah, I think people, they want to. I know definitely for jazz, I think people like, and my wife is not a musician, and she'll say things like, I just don't get it. Like I don't know what's going on, and like, and sometimes there's musicians for people writing music for musicians, and so the people who appreciate it are the musicians, and the general public's kind of like, well, okay, like they don't quite know what's going on, or maybe they're turned off by it. And so I think this project is really meant for people to kind of, get a look under the hood and see like what's going on. There's kind of, definitely like an educational element to it, so that they can like appreciate what's happening on a deeper level, and then of course like participating with it too, and like getting hands on with it, allowing them to really like see like, oh wow, this is like really hard,
Yeah.
and the other thing too is a lot of people will say like, I have no I don't have a musical bone in my body, and I don't believe that theory. I think everyone has some musical intuition. If like a 5-year-old can copy, singing K-pop Demon Hunters, then anyone can
Yeah.
do like there's a ceiling, but like there's definitely like,
Exactly. Yeah.
like you're not like capable of doing nothing. So this is also to kind of like show people like, look, you do have some musical skill. Like maybe you're not going to go play professionally, but like you have, it's like part of our DNA as humans. So I think to get people to like connect with that a little bit and see like, oh cool, like I can actually like everyone can play Simon Says, which is call and response,
Yeah.
which we're going to do a lot of that. So I think that just showing people that too, like that, like getting them out of their own skin and comfort zone would be a lot of fun. So we'll see. The maiden voyage is February 24th. So
Okay.
we'll see, and maybe I
I
was
hope you
thinking.
post on Instagram. So
I will.
I
I'm
can,
gonna put a recap after. Yeah, I mean, we'll see if this is like like worked out really great, or if this is a terrible idea. That's really what
Okay.
this is about.
No, but I think also for children, because
Yes. Yeah.
I'm so passionate about the fact that our schools should
Yeah.
really consider having art as all forms of art. I'm talking about art
Sure.
as in artistic subjects, in schools. And I think for children, music is always so important as well. And I remember talking also years ago to a guy who revived the lyra, the ancient lyra, the Greek lyra. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It looks
Is that
like
an
a
instrument?
small harp. It's a
Oh, okay. I see what you
yeah.
mean. Yeah.
So they actually build a replica, or they are building replicas of the ancient lyra. And he told me the whole story about the lyra, and said that in ancient Greece, children used to go to school with a lyra, and if you couldn't play the lyra, you were seen as uneducated. So everybody, playing the lyra was part of school. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think, where have we
Yeah,
gone
where's that
to?
gone? I
Yeah.
know. Well, so I have a cousin in Australia, and his son is well, his son's in high school now, but like every kid at this high school or even middle school, I think, has to play an instrument.
Oh wow,
And they
that's
had to play a
wonderful.
string like in like
Mm.
middle school or like maybe even like fifth grade or elementary towards the end of elementary, I guess. They had to choose an instrument and they had to play it and they had to all play it. And so like he's sending me these videos of these kids, like 200 kids on stage, these like
Wow.
massive performances. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it's just
It
like,
is.
that's it. Like, there's no question. And it's like, and they all just do it. And it's,
Mm.
I mean, we're not saying they're all going to go play professionally, but like, I think,
No,
yeah,
but that's the idea, that
it's a
there's so
connection and like new
exactly.
skill and
Yeah,
like appreciation when they go on to become adults. Like, you're building a population of people who like, learned some music skill to a certain point and that will be an audience that will go hear music probably because they like know what's going
exactly.
on. um and so that's I'm always like, wow, that's amazing. Maybe I should just
But
move to
that,
Australia.
yeah, no, really, I want to find out where that school is and talk to the
Yeah,
teachers. Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But that's the point, when children, it's not that we want to make everybody a professional musician, but that they are, you know, appreciative of the music and be the audience member.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it that's
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
how you
whole,
build the audience is like
yeah,
through they have to have some general knowledge or have at least be open to you know, to experiencing something new or something familiar, or oh, I played that piece when I was younger, or I used to play that
exactly.
instrument, and so that there's
Yeah.
something really significant there.
Mm. And also, I mean, you have the jazz ensemble, and you played in a big band, but
Hmm.
it's that playing together and that community feeling also of being in a band that's so
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. I think that was the thing that I don't know if I subconsciously, when I quit piano and switched to trombone, I don't know that I was thinking that in those terms, but now looking back and I remember being in music school and seeing all like I had a couple friends that were like classical piano majors, and I was like, they never get that experience. Like they're always
Oh, yeah.
either they're playing and maybe they're playing in a quintet or something or with an orchestra as a soloist, but they're never just a cog in the wheel, and I think like that teamwork kind of element of being a trombone player is very much like the sort of like utilitarian you know part of an
Mm.
ensemble. They don't always get the limelight, and they're just sort of like there filling in the background and supporting, and but being a part of a larger group, the trombone allowed me to do that, whereas like the piano would not have given me that opportunity. So maybe that was subconscious, I don't know, but I definitely like feel like I've benefited from that.
And coming back to also the physical things about playing, so you need, of course, lung capacity, and you
Mm.
need breath and so on. So, and you said that you can't play for long periods of time, but how much does it affect your playing, say, when you're stressed or when you have a cold coming up? Is that
Mm.
something that you have to take into consideration as well?
Yeah, if you're not feeling 100%, yes,
Mm.
absolutely. Your body, I mean, it's every day changes,
Mm.
you have not enough sleep, or you're feeling stressed, or dehydrated. All these things will
Yeah.
play a factor into how playing goes. And it's not to say that you can play over a course of a day if you spread it out. It's just sort of, like after roughly like 3 hours or 4 hours of practicing, that's kind of like all you're going to be able to do for the day. If you play a bunch of, it's different when you practice versus playing performances all day. In the performances, there's like built-in rests that allow you to sort of like stretch it out longer. When you're practicing at home, often you're not doing that. You're just like really playing a lot. So that's why that you kind of burn through the time faster. But definitely, yeah, you feel points where your body is going through different things. But, in the end, though, like it's definitely like it should be a release. It shouldn't cause extra stress to play it. It should be like a relaxation thing, and sort of. I think that's also something that it has. I've come to realize that it's like there's a like sort of especially in the beginning warm up phase, like a meditative sort of element to it that is sort of soothing and something I've just like a ritual that I've gotten in the habit of doing. So
yeah. But John, tell me what are the wishes, or what is the dream for you?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, I just, short term, I want to like, work on this project and see where it goes. I mean, I'm excited about, the possibilities of it. Long term, I would love to, get a chance to bring my music to Europe and work with some of the radio bands there. It's something I'm, working towards. I have to, sort of make that inroads, I think, on my own. I know some people that are doing it, but some people that fellow BMI workshop composers that are working with different bands as their musical directors. And but I would love to get a chance to work with the musicians over there for sure, and keep writing music. I have several ideas and ideas, like kind of just like in my head that, will take a long time to get out, like writing a whole album of music and then releasing it. And now if I'm going to start doing these videos talking about every song like that stuff takes a lot of time. So yeah, the life cycle of an album is like several years. So it's something I just want to keep producing music and keep connecting with people, and on the musical and audience level, and like I definitely like try to get people to learn more about the music so that they can appreciate all the things and all the work that goes into it, and hopefully come to more concerts.
Yeah. Well, I hope you come to Vienna, and I hope you do
I'd love to.
a European tour.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm still trying to work out the details, but it would be amazing. I've definitely feel like I need to. I know there's so many great musicians over there that I've never had a chance to work with, or I've heard them on recordings, but I'd love to just come and listen to them in person and just check them out, and at some point hopefully get a chance to work with them on as a composer. So. But it's a beautiful community over there.
Yeah, and for me, it's always lovely to see how they collaborate, and how you see people getting together, and so it is a great community here. I think all over Europe.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's so nice is like, I might not even speak the same language as them, but if I put the music in front of them, like we all know what we're talking about, and like that's such a cool thing, to go somewhere else and connect with other musicians who speak a different language, but we all speak, the language of music, and to get a chance to do that is super, super fun, super satisfying, very rewarding. So just want to keep doing that and keep writing and playing, and hopefully that means coming to Vienna sometime soon.
Yes. Well, please let me know when you're here. And
okay. Yeah.
When you're playing, I would love
absolutely.
to come. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, it would be great. But
Excellent.
Thank you so much for your time. It was so lovely to talk to you. And like I say, I love your Instagram page, and it was because of one of these videos that I saw that I thought, I want to talk to this man.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I appreciate you having me on, listening, and it was a lot of fun to get a chance to talk.